Hey everybody, this is Renae Lipsmeyer from The Space Between, and you're listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind 31 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, it's Renae here with the Space Between podcast. I'm Renae. Welcome to another episode. So, as you might can see, I'm not at a concert. What? Yes, we're on a break in between Charleston, South Carolina, and the New York shows. Whatever's going on up there. I won't be there, so I don't know. I knew that they're headed up to the New York area, and several of my friends are going to be there, so I'm so happy for them. But I'm back at home after 10 straight shows in a row, almost 5,000 miles. It was like 4,775 miles from like the time I left to the time I got back. So I'm here for a couple weeks rest until we head back out on the road again. And we're going to Deer Creek at the end of this month. So we're super excited about that. So this episode, we're going to cover a couple of things. We didn't get a chance to cover Charleston, night 1 and night 2. So I just want to briefly touch on that. It was my very first time to Charleston, South Carolina. And I heard all of the things like, oh, it's wonderful, it's historic, it's beautiful, it's expensive. And I'm here to verify that all three of those things are correct. Charleston was lovely, very historic. The boys played in a tennis stadium or arena, whichever. I don't know. I've never been to a tennis place before. So it was small. Matter of fact, I took some notes, right? 10,200 people are the max that can fit into the Charleston Stadium, which was, I believe, the Capital One Stadium. So a smaller venue in compare to most of all of the other Dave Matthews Band shows. So Charleston was show 9 and 10 for the band this year on the U.S. tour. So we started out in Charleston with a night 0, and it was lovely. Rob Messina, again, with the help of Rich Richter, we all met up at a bar, and he sang, and it was beautiful. There were a lot of people there, and so it was a great night 0. Now, I'm going to pause just for a little bit, which is something I don't normally do, and I have to write down, take a breather, because I'll just keep talking. So I sent Andy, who is my editor of the show, so shout out to Andy Mendoza. If you don't know him, I encourage you to follow him on all of his socials. He does a great job of keeping up with the Dave Matthews Band because, of course, he's a really big fan too. So when he is at these shows, he can usually record from a very short distance away from the stage, and then he puts this up on YouTube under his account, and so they're all like high definition 4K, all of the good stuff. So be sure to look up Andy Mendoza if you don't know who he is. So he's the editor of this show, and so I have sent him a couple of videos and pictures of night 0 and Rob singing a song at night 0, so I'm going to let that play right now.
Was I fooled of the way you looked at me? I swear you did, but you looked the way you took away. Was I fooled of
Okay, so that was Rob Messina and a few shots of night 0 in Charleston, South Carolina at night 0. So if you don't know about Rob Messina, which was the guy that was just singing in the video that we just shot, Rob is an incredible human being who, of course, has a love for Dave and the boys. And so Rob is off doing his own thing now. He's about to go on tour called the Rob Messina Dave Matthews Experience. So Rob has a lot of the same tendencies and mannerisms as Dave Matthews, but he also has a really amazing voice. He can play the guitar, and so he's one to watch. So if you haven't heard of Rob Messina, be sure to check out a couple of episodes back from this one, because I did have a full interview with Rob, and that gave us a look into a couple of reasons why he's doing what he's doing, and then what his plans are for the summer, because again, he's going out on tour. So if you're interested in catching him at a local city near you, be sure to check out that episode. And if I'm so bold to say, Andy is going to put up his tour dates right here. Thanks, Andy. Okay, so Charleston was amazing. Here are my pros and cons of Charleston. And again, my opinion means nothing, but part of the going to these shows is just to be able to go back and say, okay, here's what this venue looks like. If you've never been and you're thinking about going to Charleston in another year, here's what you're looking at. So Charleston, again, is in a tennis stadium venue, small, 10,000 people. There is no lawn. And while that's okay, and I went into it thinking no big deal, here's why it was a big deal to me. So we bought tickets, me and my friends all bought tickets at different times to go to Charleston. Well, what that ended up doing, of course, was putting us all in very separate places. And without the security of a lawn, if you're separated from your friends and family, you're just separated from your friends and family. So, in a traditional setting where you have a lawn, worst case scenario, you're not sitting by any of your friends and you don't want to sit by strangers, you can just go to the lawn and find like a group of people to party with. And that just wasn't the case at this stadium because it wasn't available. So night 1 and night 2, I did sit by myself because my friends and I got separated. I don't mind, but of course I typically love sitting with someone next to me that like I can carry on a conversation with. And that's not always what you get when you go into a surprise. Some people are like, I don't want to talk, or I'm just here because I won free tickets, or whatever the case may be. But I ended up night 2 sitting next to one of the most fabulous humans. I did not start the conversation with her, but she started the conversation with me, showing me pictures of her and her friends with Dave Matthews a couple of nights before Charleston. Long story short, they do custom Nikes, and they had made a pair for Dave Matthews and were able to present those to him like the night before Charleston, maybe 2 days before Charleston. And so they got a meet and greet with him. They were able to share that information with me. And of course, they didn't know I had a podcast. So of course, my first thing is, oh my God, I'm so interested in everything you're telling me. Would you and your friends be interested in being on a podcast to talk about their fan experience with Dave Matthews Band? One thing led to another, and we're fast friends now. So we both had 4 kids. We were both 44. Like, we both loved, Dave Matthews. And here we are in Charleston sitting next to each other. So it's those times like that where you can meet someone that you weren't expecting to meet at a concert, and then like everything clicks and you're like, oh my God, I love this so much. So that happened a lot in my travels, but Charleston was special. I met a new person and she was amazing. And so stay tuned for their story. I have reached out to them. And so since I just got home, I'm a little off on the scheduling people for interviews, but be sure to look for that one because that one's going to be really interesting. And I want to show those custom Nikes to you because they had like all of like ants and different things from songs on the shoes. And so they were really, really a custom piece of art that needs to be shared with the world since Dave actually owns them now, right? Okay, so a couple more things that I want to talk about in this episode. Again, this one is going to be short because it's kind of just a recap since I never did a show after Charleston and I haven't done one since then. So upcoming tour dates. So we've got a lot of friends that are in New York. I actually have some friends that I was traveling with to the first 10 shows who are about to go to their 11th show straight in a row. And so I'm excited for them. I can't wait to talk to them to see what the energy is like up north. Now, I know there's been a few concerns that I've heard, like something about the smoke coming from Canada. I've been on the road for 24 days, so I don't know a lot of current news, but this is what I've heard, that there's smoke or fires in Canada and the air is coming down to New York. And so I've talked to a few people who are in New York for the shows and the meet and greets and all the things for Dave Matthews Band, and they're like, it's not that bad. So I look forward to hearing that they're going to have a great show and that no problems were caused because of that. So I look forward, and be sure to stay tuned because some of the future tour dates, New York and all of those that are about to happen, we'll have we won't have live video from there because we're not there, but we're definitely going to have some fans that are there to tell their stories about why you should come up north. I can't tell you how many text messages and phone calls and all the things saying, are you on your way to New York? And I'm like, as soon as I win the fucking lottery, I'm on my way. I'm doing all of them, but I'm still waiting. So here is the last bit for this show. again, this is all just random, I'm at home stuff, but I want to tell my story about meeting Dave Matthews because honestly, I think it's hilarious. I would have never been able to predict a story like this. Have I thought about meeting Dave Matthews? Only like a few million times. But honestly, I've always kind of said I don't want to. And here's why. 2021, the band came to Rogers, again, that's where I live. And because it's a smaller town, because I'm from here, I kind of knew like where they would stay, things like that. So I go to the hotel because it's also a museum. So anyone can go in at any time. They have the displays. You can walk by and, be all artsy, which I guess I kind of am. So it made sense for me to be there. So when the band came in, I was with a group of friends. I wasn't expecting this to happen. And honestly, like when it came down to it, my friends went to go say hi to Dave and a couple of the other band members that were with him. I just couldn't. I could not actually get my feet to move. And I couldn't get my voice to like come out of my body until they walk away. Because that's when I'm at my best, is when there's no pressure, right? So they walk away and all my friends are coming back to me and I'm just like, I froze. So there was more to that, but it's all embarrassing. So let's just say I had a really bad first opportunity. It wasn't meant to be, right? It wasn't meant to be. So this year, I know Dave's coming. I know where he's going to be. We're having a pre-show party. So we did the Rogers pre-show party at my friend and Mary and Bob's. We had a pool party. We had the whole thing. We had so many people come over. It was wonderful. So I got word that Dave and the boys were checking into their hotel. So as any good fan does, I'm like, oh, I got to go. I know I'm hosting a party and I'm like in the middle of this shit, but like I'm going to secretly bow out of my own party. Not the best idea, but that's like when someone says, do you want to go meet Dave? Like all of the sane parts of my brain, gone. So I was just thinking, let's go. So I'd go tell my husband, I'm like, hey, I got to go. Here's why. Don't tell anybody, I'm leaving. So I go get in the car, long story short, get in the car with this dude that I knew. We go to the hotel, and we go in and we kind of chill for a little bit. Again, remember that I've taken no one with me that I like from home or my family. I've just left and got in the car with this dude that I know and like all that. So we go to the hotel. I get there. We're sitting there. And all of a sudden I hear somebody saying, hey, Buddy's checking into the hotel. So of course, naturally, I'm just like, okay, let's go check this out. Because I love Buddy. I think he has brought such an energy and a skill and art and all the words to the band, and he's amazing. But I never thought, I'm going to meet Buddy first. But it happened. So I go up to him, and he's just as gracious as can be. He presented himself as if he were, not a rock star. Just wanted to hear what I said, and I'm going to tell you the rest of the story in just a little bit. I don't think it's time to tell you the funny part of this story, but let's just say me and Buddy had a great conversation. I've got several photos. Thankfully, my friends were around taking pictures and videos of me talking with this dude, because when I talk to someone, it's kind of like all over, right? I'm just like, ah! So I'm telling him, thank you, blah, blah, blah. So many people need your spirit, your energy, you're contagious, blah, blah, blah. And he's just so gracious, like, thank you, blah, 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 blah. So we get a picture made. And I go sit back down and I'm like, oh my God, that was so fucking cool. And really didn't think anything more about it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go walk around. I had in my head the vision of the last time I almost met Dave Matthews. And I was like, you know what? I'm changing the story this time. Now, here's the time for the information that you must know about me meeting Dave Matthews. Let me back it up just a little bit. So again, we're at a pool party, right? With all my friends. There's probably 40 of us there. And I don't know everyone because it was just like a Dave Matthews meetup. So
hello everybody, this is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music. on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
I was asked if I wanted to do mushrooms. And here's where the story just gets more entertaining. I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm in a safe place. I'm not going anywhere. I have people around me that I know and can trust, and because that's what I had always heard is if you ever do mushrooms, make sure you're in a safe place with people that you know are going to watch out for you and that your surroundings, blah, 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 all the things. So I did it, right? And I was so happy, and I told my husband, I was like, okay, I just did this, so I don't know what to expect, but just so you know, I've done this, I want to be responsible, blah, 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 blah. So we did it. It was great. I didn't know what to expect, but 20 minutes after I did it, which I guess was not enough time for anything to happen, and I don't know, that's when the dude walks up to me and it was like, hey, do you want to go eat Dave, or do you want to go meet Dave Matthews? And I'm like, yes. So as soon as I get in the car with him, I'm thinking, of course, in my brain, paranoid, oh shit, this is amazing. But also I did mushrooms today and a whole lot of weed. So I'm not for sure what's about to happen. I've never done this before. But here's what happened. Here's what I know mushrooms does for me. Just me. I can't speak for anyone else. This was my first time. And here's what happened. So I get an opportunity to meet Dave Matthews. I'm walking around by myself because I know that him and his security are going to avoid crowds, right? So I'm like, I'm just going to hang out by myself way down the hall because I know where the entrance to the actual elevator hotel is. And I'm like, I'm going to hang down there because he has to walk this way. All by myself. And in the meantime, all my friends are just doing this and that. And I'm just hanging by myself because I've got a mission. So at one point, I remember my friends telling me, oh my God, he's coming in. And I was like, go, 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 go. And I'm sure they were thinking you don't want to do this again. You want to be in the same building you were in last time to meet Dave Matthews and you're going to chicken out again. I was just like, go. But the whole time I was thinking, you go be up there with that group of friends, fans. Security's going to shut you down because they're not going to let Dave Matthews meet everyone that's in this lobby. Just go. And they were like, okay, whatever. So, of course, they do the meet and greet with all the fans, pictures, blah, blah, blah. At some point, security shuts them down and they're like, no, no more. Dave needs his rest, blah, 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 blah. Well, because I'm down here at the hall where they're walking this way, I start walking the same way as him. So we're like this, right? Boop, 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 boop. That was my sound effect. And security was very aware of me. I mean, here I am, just a girl walking towards Dave Matthews, right? But I guess I'm persuasive. I was just like, hello, hi, and I'm just getting in his face, hey, why not? Right? Why not? I want him to see me. I want him to hear me. So I'm like, I hope I can do this the same way. Okay. So I literally, again, on mushrooms, lots of weed, didn't know what I was doing. I held it together. Honestly, mushrooms was the best thing I could have fucking done before meeting Dave Matthews because I didn't give a fuck about what I said. But what I did say was fucking amazing. Or at least in my head, I have no regrets of what I said. So here's what I said. Imagine you're Dave. You're watching me. I walk up to you. Hey, I have a podcast called The Space Between, but it's not about you. And he looks at me like, what? And I was like, my podcast is about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And I go on to kind of talk about that. And at one point, his security guard was trying to get him to kind of go, but he looked right at me and he goes, after we had talked for a little bit, and he goes, I'm going to check out your podcast. And I cleverly say right back to him in his face, oh, you'll probably forget the name of it. And he laughs at me, and I'm like, it's called the Space Between podcast. And so, we laughed. We had that exchange of like, funny, or me trying to be funny. I don't know. I mean, like, here's what I know. Dave Matthews laughed at me. Yay! I don't know if that's a good thing, but also he said he was going to listen to my podcast. And also, I don't think he'll forget the name because of the way I like worked it all out. And so, is that like the best meeting Dave story ever that's ever happened? No, but for me, it was fucking amazing. And I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud that I was able to speak to this man who I've kind of like idolized, I guess, for such a long time. I was just so worried that I wasn't going to be able to get the words out, because I hear so many fans say, when I had the opportunity to meet Dave, or when I did meet Dave, I couldn't even remember my name or what his name was or where we were and all of that. And so those were my fears going into it for sure. But through the power of mushrooms and a lot of weed and probably some alcohol, I nailed it. I was just like, what's up, Dave? And there was that. So do I think he's actually listening to my podcast? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to take the man at his word and believe that he is, and be so fucking excited that he would even listen to a half a second of what I have to say. But I think that what we're talking about on this podcast is really, for the people that love the band, I think what we're talking about on this podcast is it's really good information. We're talking about venues. We're talking about the fans of the band. And while that's so special to me, is because every fan is so different and all comes from different walks of life. But how the fuck did we get together and love the same band? And we're all doing it the same, right? We're all doing it the same, just like the songs say. So this was a random episode. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening to my I Met Dave story, because I've been saving that one for a little bit. But I'm putting all of these stories together. 2023 is a year of me trying to figure out who the fuck I am, what I want to do. I've always wanted to be a storyteller, and I think when you have a story that you want to tell, it should be something that you're passionate about, something that you have lots of information about, and something that other people want to hear, right? And so, of course, the ending goal in all of this is to write a book about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And while that has been done before, it's never been done by me. It's never been done through my perspective and through the people that I'm meeting and that are participating in this podcast by sharing their story, by sharing their engagement, by sharing their new baby, by sharing whatever it is that kind of went around the Dave Matthews Band. And so thank you again for listening to this. Thank you to all of the new people that are just now finding out about this podcast. We definitely are not through with concerts for this year. Our next stop is in Deer Creek, which is in Indiana. And so that is just like 22 days away before I leave. So I'm going to get a little bit of rest and relaxation. I'm going to watch the couch tour with everyone else, and we'll still be putting out podcasts every week, if not more often. So be sure to tune in next week as we talk about the New York shows, and we'll have a few guests that talk about their Dave Matthews Band experience. So you guys, get some rest. Summer is just beginning. We have so much time ahead of us. The Gorge is not until September, and then we know that there will be a fall tour. Thank you again for listening to this. Be sure to look for the next episode next week as we discover all of the fan favorites from the New York shows, the shows that have happened just a few days ago. And so again, thank you for listening to this. If you're watching this on YouTube, just know that you can listen to this podcast anytime on any of the podcast apps, whether that is Apple, Spotify, Google, whichever way you find it, and those are free. But if you're listening to this and you would like to watch for any random reason, we're also on YouTube under the Space Between podcast with Renae Lipsmeyer. So guys, have the best week. If you're not following me on socials, I'm on all of them. Facebook, it's under a group, the Space Between podcast. On Instagram, it's under the Space Between _pod. And then I'm probably on all the other things too. So see if you can find me. Peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. We'll see you in Deer Creek.